Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. Die. Within the Heart Devil Kite, led by Elder Heart Eye with 12 eternal true gods as support, there were also over 10,000 true gods of void space under his command. This was not just any super large mechanical secret treasure, but one of the sect protecting treasures specially designed by the God King who established the Heart Shadow Sect, based on the godly king inheritances from the 6 extremes of destruction. The threshold for control was extremely high. The Novelia.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Nowadays, within the entire Heart Shadow Sect, apart from the apparent Elder Heart Eye, only the hidden Xiao Yi could control the sect protecting treasure. The sect protecting treasure completely unified the power of all manipulators. It even unified spiritual wills. Along with a harsh screech, Elder Heart Eye commanded all his subordinates to merge their wills and launch the attack. Elder Heart Eye was very confident. His own will had reached the level of an ordinary primal chaos realm, and by controlling the sect protecting treasure, the Heart Devil Kite, and unifying spiritual wills, the will attack he unleashed had already reached the order called Pinnacle Will of Primal Chaos. The will attack is strong enough to harm Luo He, greatly reducing his strength, and then completely suppress him in one fell swoop. Elder Heart Eye hadn't hoped that the secret technique of willpower could kill Luo Fong. In fact, aside from the Liu Yuan technique, normal collisions of will, unless the difference in willpower was outrageously wide, would at most result in the will being damaged, impacting the strength it could exert. To look and the enemy dies. It was very rare in the land of origin. Such were only possible when the difference was outrageously large. Just like at this moment, Luo Fong's godly king's will, aimed at the disciples of the Heart Shadow Sect, could kill with a glance 9 out of 10 times even without resorting to the Liu Yuan technique. Only Elder Heart Eye, Xiao Yi, the sect leader, and fewer than 10 others could survive. Boom. Luo Fong was somewhat surprised as he felt his will was attacked. He hadn't planned to deploy a very strong will technique, especially since a mere glance would kill Elder Heart Eye, a scene too terrifying to behold. It would likely immediately attract the attention of the God Kings from Yu Kingdom and Shi Kingdom. He was already very close to the primal chaos realm, just a little more endurance, and he would reach it. It would be fairly normal to exhibit a godly king's will at the primal chaos realm, as there were some primal chaos overlords who could do it. Moreover, his ability to protect himself would also greatly increase. His ability to handle risks would improve significantly. I've always planned to keep my strength just beyond the greatest eternal true god of the Yu Kingdom. But to think that you would initiate an attack, Luo Fong felt helpless. Boom. This fiercely intense will attack, however, caused all creatures within the Heart Devil Kite, whether they were Elder Heart Eye or the other eternal true gods, or the tens of thousands of true gods of void space, to feel as though their consciousness was tearing apart. All experienced immense agony. Not good. The originally lunging Heart Devil Kite suddenly drew back sharply. Fortunately, this was just rebound damage, they could still retain some clarity. This Luo he must possess the pinnacle will of primal chaos. His secret techniques of willpower are also quite extraordinary. Elder Heart Eye immediately transmitted a message, 6 shadows killing formation, or retreat. The will of this Luo he is too terrifying. What? The 6 superlarge mechanical secret treasures forming the 6 shadows killing formation was somewhat perplexed. They had the formation set up, trapping Lord Luo He, why suddenly retreat? Since my will's strength has been detected, I might as well reveal it a bit. Luo Fong moved yet remained fully reserved, whether his godly body or will. Either bursting forth could sweep through the Heart Shadow Sect, drawing the attention of the ancient God Kings. Thinking positively, a powerful presence might foster Luo Fong. Thinking negatively, death, enslavement, and control were all possibilities. Luo Fong did not want to leave his fate in the hands of a God King's conscience. Master Mountain sitting guest had also advised him to be patient and keep a low profile, for the waters of the land of origin were too deep. Swoosh. Luo Fong swung the godly king level blade embryo blood shadow knife in his hand, a blade light dazzlingly brilliant, like a chef slicing meat. It cut through the void, cutting everything, and also aimed at the retreating heart devil kite. Puff tilde tilde tilde. When this blade struck the heart devil kite, Luo Fong immediately felt the toughness of the heart devil kite. The toughness of the heart devil kite was comparable to a primal chaos realm weapon's secret treasure. Luo Feng's blade could not cut through it. But there were energy effects that permeated, and moreover, a will similar to blade light, slicing into the interior of the heart devil kite. All creatures inside the heart devil kite, with their unified will, stiffly endured the spiritual will of the blade. This move was the first Chaos Realm saber technique heart honing that Luo Fong had grasped. Only 5 eras had passed, and this move heart honing had also evolved into multiple versions. Now, this strike of heart honing combined 6 Chaos Realm moves into one, and it also naturally fused the secret technique of willpower that Luo Fong had comprehended from the Calamity Beast diagram. 5 eras before, Luo Fong had possessed Godly King level will. At that time, he had only studied a small part of the 3000 Void Calamity Beast diagram. As he gradually comprehended, Luo Feng's understanding continued to accumulate, especially after viewing the complete Calamity Beast diagram. While his will slowly improved, Luo Fong also grasped a suite of secret techniques of willpower from the diagram. This set of secret techniques of willpower, for now, comprised 3 moves. The first move was integrated into the heart-honing blade technique, aiming to destroy the enemy's godly body and also slash apart the opponent's spirit. The heart devil kite was cleaved flying backward, and its internal manipulators felt like their spiritual will was slashed by a blade once more, tremendously painful. Fortunately, Luo Fong only used a wisp of will, greatly limiting the power, and they felt pain only. Swoosh tilde 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 tilde. This blade sliced through the chaos, brushed past the heart devil kite, and also passed over the 6 shadows killing formation. The 6 shadows killing formation was formed by 6 super-large mechanical secret treasures together, and these ordinary super-large mechanical secret treasures could not achieve unity of spiritual will. Their controlling was done by the leader's spiritual will. Tilde tilde tilde. Luo Fong had merely employed a strand of his willpower, which was immensely restricted in might, and it was also a secret technique of willpower he had devised himself. Under the strike of this heart-honing blade, the leader of the 6 super-large mechanical secret treasures immediately saw 5 of their willpowers collapse into unconsciousness, with only one painfully keeping consciousness, and hastily fleeing. A mere brilliant strike. The heart devil kite retreated explosively, and the 6 shadows killing formation collapsed. One super-large mechanical secret treasure fled, while the others were directly split open by the blade light. When the leader fell unconscious, the defensive ability of these super-large mechanical secret treasures greatly diminished, and they were easily split apart. Not good, run. The 5 collapsing super-large mechanical secret treasures had an advantage in not having their spiritual will combined. The consciousness of the leader controlled the entire secret treasure, and after taking a strike, the leader fell unconscious. The ordinary members, still conscious, were scared into scattering and fleeing. Huff. Luo Fong waved his hand, collecting the 5 falling, split open super-large mechanical secret treasures. How is this possible? The master of the Heart Shadow Sect and the 18 elders gathered, watching the battle scene with shock and anger. He possesses the pinnacle will of the primal chaos realm, and under the secret technique of willpower, the 6 shadows killing formation simply cannot withstand it. Elder Heartai said solemnly, even the sect protecting heart devil kite, with its spiritual will combined, cannot match him. Such a strong spiritual will exists. An eternal true God possesses the pinnacle will of the primal chaos realm. Just what major power cultivated him? They had never considered that Luo Fong could be of the godly king's will. In the land of origin, there are quite a few who, being eternal true gods, possess the will of the primal chaos realm like divine monarch Shui Yun, Mo Li Xiao, and Zhu Hu, each having the threshold will of the chaos realm. Elder Heartai and Xiao Yi, who cultivate godly king level legacies, also possess ordinary primal chaos realm will. In the ancient countries, some major powers nurture elite eternal true gods that reach the pinnacle will of the primal chaos realm. But to skip 2 levels, for an eternal true god to have the will of a godly king. In the land of origin, this is also an occasional occurrence. The Great Destruction Ultimate Formation, developed personally by a godly king, involves 360 eternal true gods in coordination with the formation diagram, uniting power and spirit. And this is our Heart Shadow Sect's trump card. The sect leader and 18 elders remained confident. The Great Destruction Ultimate Formation was now the strongest measure the Heart Shadow Sect could mobilize. Under such an ultimate formation, no eternal true god could withstand it. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Too strong. The screech of the heart devil kite is an attack of will. It pounced forward but suddenly retreated explosively. It must be due to its will being damaged. Look, in this 6 shadows killing formation, 5 super large mechanical secret treasures, under Luo his blade edge offered no resistance, and was simply cleaved open. Clearly, the leaders had lost their ability to resist. At the city owner's mansion, the leaders of the 5 great families watched with boiling blood. Mo Li Xiao further described the key points. In regular combat, the Heart Devil Kite and the 6 shadows killing formation could tie down Lord Luo He. But in the clash of wills, Lord Luo His will clearly has the upper hand. The Heart Devil Kite, with only 3 to 4/10 of its strength, could not exert its full power. The 6 shadows killing formation was even deprived of its ability to resist. With such a significant advantage in will, Lord Luo His will must have reached the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm. This information must be reported to the Marquis immediately. An eternal true god with the pinnacle will of primal chaos, even the elite eternal true gods of the 2 ancient countries could probably do no better. They increasingly felt their chances of victory in this battle were growing. This blade strike by Luo He, it cleaved both body and will, said Emperor Chu Yu at the Flame-Wind Pavilion, overseeing the battle scene. He had already advanced to the primal chaos realm. Observing from a close distance, he naturally discerned more truths and falsehoods, but the advantage isn't quite significant. It's very normal for the Heart Devil Kite to escape, especially since it is one of the Heart Shadow Sect's sect-protecting treasures. But it's surprising that one of the 6 shadows killing formation also got away. Emperor Chu Yu asked himself, had he been in that situation in his eternal true god stage, none from the 6 shadows killing formation would have escaped. I guess Marquis Jujiang and Marquis Liu Yin also sent divine power incarnations around Huyang City, probably also realizing this battle. The deputy pavilion master smiled. Marquis Liu Yin must be getting anxious now. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Fong had just collected the 5 super-large mechanical secret treasures. The Heart Devil Kite, and another super-large mechanical secret treasure, had already fled far away. Huff. A brawny figure traversed the void space, now close by. It was Morosa. Master, I have completed the task you assigned, Morosa said excitedly, and also casually slaughtered some Heart Shadow Sect's eternal true gods. They were cruel, massacring indiscriminately. I know you dislike that. Well done, Luo Fong praised. Upon hearing the praise, Morosa couldn't help but beam with pleasure. Luo Fong suddenly looked toward the distant sky, where a massive and imposing grand formation obscured half the sky, already looming over them, which even Luo Fong found somewhat startling. What a powerful killing formation, Luo Fong remarked. A killing formation of the great Tao of Destruction origin. Morosa watched excitedly. After all, he had reached the primal chaos realm, and had a deep understanding of the great Tao of Destruction origin. He instantly perceived the many intricacies of this terrifying formation. The creator of the formation must be the godly king who established the Heart Shadow Sect. His realm is indeed much higher than mine, observed Morosa carefully, integrating 36 destruction moves into a perfect formation, and even using a formation diagram to allow 360 eternal true gods to form it. Impressive. Extremely impressive. If they fought individually, even 3,000 eternal true gods would not be a match for this single killing formation. Master, if we get caught in this killing formation, trying to break out, we'll have to reveal some abnormal strength, Morosa communicated through spiritual will. Of course, this great formation has a significant flaw, it can't move through the void. This group of eternal true gods is already struggling to use the formation diagram to enact such a formation. If they were to traverse the void, the formation would definitely collapse. If the entire formation could chase enemies through the void, there would be no escape, Luo Fong communicated back. The Heart Shadow sect doesn't have such a fearsome formation yet. If a group of enemies appeared through the void and the formation already covered a vast area, indeed, there would be no escape. Throughout the entire land of origin, it was exceedingly difficult for eternal true gods to set up such a formation. Neither Yu Kingdom nor Shi Kingdom had ever heard of such a formidable killing formation. Boom tilde tilde tilde. The massive formation obscured half the sky and rapidly enveloped the area. Within it, the 360 eternal true gods felt anger, as well as unwillingness. If Elder Heart Eye and the others can trap Luo He, delaying him just a little, our great destruction ultimate formation will completely cover him, ensuring his utter demise. Now, he wouldn't be foolish enough to be trapped by the formation. The disciples of the eternal true gods from the Heart Shadow sect were all too aware of this. In the distance, Luo Fong suddenly swung his blade. 3 continuous strikes. The first strike, dazzling and bright, sliced through the void, leaving behind a pitch-black rift. This brilliant strike naturally fell upon the vast formation. Named Heart Honing, this blade also severed spiritual will. However, with the 360 eternal true gods united by the formation diagram, although their souls felt pain and discomfort from the strike, they still endured, perfectly maintaining the formation. The second strike swept through the boundless primal chaos, stirring up dual-colored vortices in the chaos. This sweeping blade, with its mighty force, struck the large formation, causing it to tremble slightly. The third strike was silent and invisible. As the blade swung out, it vanished. By the time it reappeared, it had already struck one of the eternal true gods within the formation. That eternal true god was somewhat startled. His body shrouded in the luminescent flow of the formation, he managed to withstand Luo Fong's stealthy and terrifying blade. 3 strikes made, and the formation withstood them all. Direct attacks, attacks on the spiritual will, individuals involved in the formation, no flaws. Worthy of the Heart Shadow sect's strongest level of killing formation, impressive. As Luo Fong watched the formation approach, he immediately communicated through spiritual will, Morosa, let's go. Okay, Morosa nodded. Whoosh! The two instantly traversed the void, forcibly breaking through the spatial constraints, and bypassing the obstacles of the dark grand formation in the high skies, leaving the area of Huyang City. The grand great destruction killing formation also halted, and the 360 Heart Shadow sect's eternal true god disciples atop the ethereal formation diagram appeared somewhat helpless. This was all within their expectations. Since Elder Heart Eye and the others were unable to entangle Luo He, it meant this plan had largely failed. Unless Luo He was arrogant enough to venture into the formation on his own. His escaped. In the gathering place of the Heart Shadow sect leader and the 18 elders, they observed the battle scene displayed by the sect great formation. Elder Blind frowned and spoke, Luo his spiritual will has reached the pinnacle of primal chaos level. Coupled with his extremely deep realm accumulation, we simply cannot find any weakness in him. Our Heart Shadow sect alone cannot detain him. Under the siege of the Heart Shadow sect, any eternal true god would be unable to resist. However, the most terrifying individual eternal true gods, if they truly wished to flee, even the Heart Shadow sect had no certainty of stopping them. The power that Luo Fong displayed made the Heart Shadow sect helplessly unable to contend with him. This time, because of Luo He, we've lost 6 super large mechanical secret treasures, and scores of eternal true gods have perished, the elders lamented. No need to ponder further, the sect leader said. Our enemy isn't him, but the army under the Marquis of Jiu. When the great army goes to war, the fight will be fierce, and it comes down to head-on strength. With our many great formations exploding together, he can only flee far away. And as an independent cultivator, he demands an exorbitant higher price. Marquis of Jiu might not be willing to pay it, added the sect leader. Right? Luo He quoted us 2 billion cosmic sand. Even if he gives Marquis of Jiu a discount, it's likely to be an extremely high price. He probably won't appear on the battlefield. These elders truly did not wish to encounter Lord Luo He on the battlefield. The sect leader ordered, "No need to ponder. Stick to the original plan, and quickly plunder the entirety of Huyang City." The number of eternal true gods, and true gods of the void space in Huyang City was vast. How many had Luo Fong and Morosa managed to save? They also had no choice. Managing to save the inhabitants of 9 artificing shops was already a joint rescue effort. If time dragged on, the Heart Shadow sect would likely set up multiple traps, such as moving numerous true gods of the void space into a certain killing formation. If Luo Fong and Morosa stumbled into it, escaping would be quite troublesome. Luo Fong was willing to save some creatures, but the prerequisite was to ensure his own safety. Luo Fong's conflict with the Heart Shadow sect had been witnessed by some of the eternal true gods within the city. If I had the power of Lord Luo He, what would the Heart Shadow sect matter? My Jiu clan is still too weak. Jiu watched from afar. The Jiu clan, with more than 20 eternal true gods known publicly and privately combined, was the strongest family in Huyang City. Yet in the face of the Heart Shadow sect, only Jiu and Jiu Fuking, 2 eternal true gods, remained in the city to find ways to protect their many clan members. Jiu took a silent step and left. By this time, his appearance had already changed, and his aura was merely maintained at the standard level of a true god. In terms of preserving life and concealing presence, Jiu was the strongest in his family. Outside the city, a figure clad in dark red armor, emanating a dark aura, looked at Huyang City from a distance, his eyes like 2 burning blood-red flames. Luo, his strength is stronger than I anticipated. I didn't expect his spiritual will to be so formidable. Marquis Liu Yin was very calm, even though this was just a divine power incarnation of his realm was simply too high. His eyes, as if merging with the dark side of the world, naturally observed every corner within the city. Inside the city, except for some areas sealed by formations or repelled by domains, he could observe almost everything. Alone Luo He can't change the outcome of the battle. The Heart Shadow sect only revealed a portion of their power this time, and just 1 killing formation forced Luo He to flee. Marquis Liu Yin looked forward with anticipation. On the frontal battlefield, when thousands of eternal true gods from the Heart Shadow sect explode with power and numerous formations coordinate, what can Marquis of Jiujiang use to resist? It was worth it to have the Heart Shadow sect take action in exchange for a large city within the future territory. Marquis of Jujiang, do you have the guts to personally join the battle? Marquis Liu Yin's gaze was ice-cold. A dispute over territory is not an ordinary fight. To join the battle is to gamble with life and death. Luo Fong, accompanied by Morosa, had just reached the outskirts of the city in a wasteland when he saw a familiar figure with white hair appearing in front of them. The novel, F.I.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lord Luo He, the white-haired young man said with a smile, "We meet again." Luo Fong naturally recognized him. The last time he visited on behalf of Marquis of Jiu, it was this Jiang Yuyo, one of the 4 trusted aides and commanders under Marquis of Jiu. "Commander Jiang," Luo Fong said. "The Marquis wishes to see you," the white-haired young man said with a smile. "Would you follow me?" "Don't worry, the Marquis is in a camp not far from here." Luo Fong was surprised. "The Marquis is here." "It's the Marquis's divine power incarnation," Jiang Yuyo explained. "Please lead the way," Luo Fong replied promptly, following Jiang Yuyo through the void space with Morosa in tow. After only about a dozen traverses through void space, they arrived at a small city floating above a lake's surface, occupying tens of billions of kilometers, more aptly described as a super-large cave mansion. Jiang Yuyo led Luo Fong and Morosa into the small city. Inside a pavilion, the Marquis of Jujiang was already seated, waiting while drinking. "Marquis, Lord Luo He and his servant have arrived," said Jiang Yuyo, entering the pavilion with Luo Fong and Morosa. This was Luo Fong's first time meeting the Marquis of Jiujiang, who wore loose robes with silver hair, each strand affecting the endless void. His appearance was quite handsome. If Marquis Liu Yin carried blood and fire, darkness and disaster, weighty and terrifying. Then Marquis of Jiu Jiang appeared like a traveler walking through heaven and earth. Luo He, Marquis of Jiu Jiang said with a smile, looking at Luo Fong. Please take a seat. Luo Fong was quite surprised to hear the polite invitation. This Marquis of Jiu Jiang didn't put on any airs of someone from the primal chaos realm. Luo Fong immediately took his seat, with Morosa standing by his side, looking utterly loyal. Your servant Luo-san may also sit, Marquis of Jiu Jiang said. Here with me, there's no need to be overly formal. Thank you, Marquis, Luo Fong replied. Only then did Morosa take a seat to the side, still maintaining a mannerly demeanor. I've just personally witnessed your encounter with the Heart Shadow Sect, Marquis of Jiu Jiang remarked. In terms of strength, I'm afraid there's not a single eternal true god in the entire Yu Kingdom that can compare with you, Luo He. One-on-one, he overwhelmed Elder Heart-Eye's control of the Heart Devil Kite. Indeed, in the whole Yu Kingdom, only Luo Fong could accomplish this feat. You flatter me, Marquis, Luo Fong said. An eternal true god holds a will on par with the pinnacle of primal chaos, which is truly impressive, Marquis of Jiu Jiang mused. It's not an overstatement. Within the entire Yu Kingdom, apart from you, there's no second eternal true god who has achieved this. Listening, Luo Fong didn't continue with modesty. No wonder you dared to ask for a hiring price of 100 million cosmic sand. You do have the necessary strength, Marquis of Jiu Jiang smiled at Luo Fong. I'm willing to offer 100 million cosmic sand to invite you to join my side's army, to help us resist the invasion of Marquis Liu Yin's forces. Would you be willing to accept? This video will end here.